speculated for weeks now concerning the original 9-game season, that being expanded to 10, how much that would be torn to shreds and restarted from the ground up versus just an additional 1 game. So as you look at the Buckeyes' new season in 2020 and this unusual Thursday night starting game against Illinois, what jumps out to you?
Oh, there's a lot of headlines here when you talk about this handy-dandy schedule they gave us, color-coded and everything. Really kind of cool. First of all, the Thursday night game at Illinois on September the 3rd, we had been led to believe Ohio State's first game was going to be on Saturday, September the 5th. And instead, they get it dropped on them that they are going to play on Thursday, September the 3rd. And my guess is this will either be on Fox Network or Fox Sports 1 is my guess. ESPN may be showing a Clemson Georgia Tech game that night, I think. So kind of an interesting thing there that they got assigned that on about a 4-week notice to make the plans that you're going to Illinois on Wednesday afternoon that week and then going to stay over and sit there all day and play a game Thursday night and fly back in the middle of the night and go to class on Friday. So or not go to class on Friday, as the case may be. It'll be the 4th time in 7 years Ohio State has opened away from home, going all the way back to 2014 with the game against Navy in Baltimore. They opened at Virginia Tech and Indiana there in the years since then. And curiously, this great Thursday night football experiment will take them to Minnesota to open the 2021 season a year from now on a Thursday night as well. So the Big Ten using Ohio State to prop up its TV partners and these kind of things with a special Thursday night kickoff game on the road at Champaign. And obviously the Illinois has a bowl team coming back 6-7 last year for Lovie Smith. I think they got about 20 returning starters. Brandon Rogers, the former Michigan quarterback, is back. So that'll be an interesting game. But as you go down this, obviously one of the things that made some of the biggest headlines was the movement of the Michigan game. It's been the last game on Ohio State's season since 1943. Every year, that's almost 77 years that it's been that way. And this year it will be played on October the 24th in Columbus. The rationale for moving that game was to give it the best opportunity to assure that it would be played. Because, again, with the unknown with the coronavirus pandemic, it is entirely possible that the Big Ten or college football could get into this mid-season and shut it down because of the pandemic, and then maybe that game would not be played. So it is scheduled for October 24, and there are 2 open weeks after that in November. So in case it would get postponed, it could be replayed or rescheduled in November. They are still hopeful of playing the Big Ten championship game on December the 5th in Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Stadium. But even that is tentative. It could be played either December the 12th or December the 19th if they have to push it back because of cancellations or postponements. So a lot of flexibility in this schedule, obviously. Ohio State will play 3 teams out of their 10 that are ranked in the USA Today coaches poll. Poor Maryland has to play all 6 of the Big Ten teams that were ranked in the preseason coaches poll. Boy, Mike Loxley's got to wonder who he upset in Chicago to get such a terrible schedule. But all 3 of his crossover games are against the ranked teams, apparently, from the West. So that's interesting. But Ohio State's tough games, really their first 4, Illinois, Rutgers, Purdue, and Indiana, they ought to be 4-0 after that. Those are teams that generally they take care of business, although I brought up Purdue. Purdue is the game that was added to Ohio State's schedule. They kept the original 9 Big Ten opponents home and away the way they were scheduled, and now Purdue is added as a road game for Ohio State on September the 19th. in West Lafayette. It was just 2 years ago, obviously, that Purdue pulled off a huge upset and blew the Buckeyes out. I think it was 49-20, I think was the final score. And that game kept Ohio State out of the college football playoff that year. News came out yesterday, Rondell Moore is not going to play for Purdue this year to preserve his chance to go on to the NFL. So you've got all those headlines involved with that. But OSU's schedule kind of picks up in October. October 10, Nebraska at home. Then the following week at Michigan State with Mel Tucker. You know, he'd like to serve notice to the league by knocking off Ohio State, a place he used to work at with Jim Tressel, was a member of the national championship staff with the Buckeyes back in 2002. Then, as we mentioned earlier, the Michigan game, October the 24th, Fox has already said that they're going to have that. And if you figure they have World Series coverage later that day, it should be game 2 of the World Series. That'll probably be a noon start for Ohio State and Michigan. None of these game times have been set yet. Then on the road to Maryland, October the 31st, and on the road again November the 7th at Penn State, which is considered a top 10 team in the coaches poll. They'll have an open week November the 7th, and then the final scheduled home game is November 14th against Iowa, a ranked opponent. I think they're ranked down in the 20s probably somewhere. As we said, the weeks of November 14 and November 28 on the current schedule are open for any kind of replacement, postponements, that type thing. So there you got it in a nutshell, a lot of the headlines surrounding this schedule. And to my way of thinking, as I kind of went through it, I thought the Big Ten did a bang-up job spreading things out so that there will be quality games throughout the entire schedule, really. I think like week 2 is Minnesota and Michigan. Week 3 is Penn State and Michigan, as well as Minnesota and Iowa, and then Minnesota and Wisconsin in week 4. So PJ Fleck has got 3 or 4 really tough opponents right out of the box for Minnesota. Going to be tough for them, but as I said, I really like how they've done a good job here spreading out some of the better matchups. So I know I've talked for about 6 minutes now about the schedule and everything, but there were a lot of headlines that came out of that whole discussion, and not the least of which is that they got hit squarely between the eyes on 4 weeks' notice that they're going to play at Illinois. And had they known that, they could have, by rules, started practice on Wednesday. They got the notice Wednesday morning and hurriedly decided to put together a schedule to start practice on Thursday, which was yesterday. They did a split team practice just to get everybody acclimated. Yesterday, they were putting the whole team together for today's practice. So we're already 2 days into preseason camp with this team, and things are happening pretty quickly right now, Mark.
Steve, talk 6 minutes, talk 60 minutes. That's why we've got you on here.
Oh, it's
no
great.
question about that. He's a senior Big Ten writer.
We time all summer, and now we've got actual news to talk about. So yeah,
I know that's why I opened up that way. I said waiting, and then bam, we get blindsided with all this news and activity and everything that needs to be covered and prepared for in just a few weeks for the college football season. And I've got to think, Steve, that this is the first time since World War II that we had an original schedule for teams across the nation that had to be revised and changed for a national emergency of sorts. And
September 11 was trying because they canceled that weekend's games. It was interesting. I remember where I was on that Tuesday. Coach Tressel was the coach then, and we were at his luncheon to preview their game against San Diego State that coming weekend at home. And or maybe it was San Jose State. I don't know. Well, whatever. I'd have to go back to
State, I believe.
Yeah, they needed to move the game, and both schools had an opening in October, so it was a ready-made solution to move that early season 2001 game. Yeah, it was 2001. I think it was San Diego State that they moved to later in the season, and so that was a pretty seamless change for that time. I know some schools had to wait and play their makeup games in December as well, but those were obviously difficult and trying times that we all lived through back in 2001.
Yeah, and for a lot of teams across college football in that particular season, they couldn't match up open dates with that game that they missed the weekend of September 11th. So they ended up extending the season. There were fewer conference championship games then, but a number of teams played that first week of December to make up that one game. Had a similar occurrence of that in 1998 because of hurricane conditions across the country early in the season. That affected the Buckeyes with Miami and UCLA playing a game that would have been played in September, playing the first week of December, that knocked UCLA out of the national championship game and opened up, at least for a few hours, an opportunity for Ohio State to possibly sneak in. But Texas A&M and Kansas State took care of that in the Big 12 championship game.
With all the news that's going on, it's certainly starting to feel a little bit more normal. We're looking at a nice little 10-game schedule that probably has gotten a little easier with the opt-outs of Micah Parsons and Rondale Moore. That week 3 trip to Purdue, West Lafayette, Ohio State's 2-4 in its last 6, 3-5 in its last 8. That's always been kind of a scary place to go, the land with no road MRI, if you listen to Jim Harbaugh. And, he just likes arguing with everybody, apparently. He may be making up for his lack of success in games that matter. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Jack Cohn never came after me, so I'm feeling pretty strong right now.
Well, you get the track record to prove it in regards to Harbaugh. So I think you're good to go. You got a lot to stand on.
The whole the game being on the 24th, I've explained to a lot of people that while the networks probably were not a deciding factor in how the schedule went down, as long as the World Series doesn't get submarined between now and then, it starts on the 23rd. So that would be game 2. And Fox would love nothing more than having that Ohio State-Michigan game as a lead-in, 3:30, not 12, because I've already looked at what everything else is. You may as well run an infomercial for Rotel or something like that, because there's not a game worth a darn that they're a rights holder to. So run that game as a direct lead in right into the game, carry a double-digit rating nationally throughout the entire day at that point. I find it really weird that they're going to end with Iowa. That's the biggest thing that stood out, other than just the fact that October 24th is the Michigan game. When you're going out of division, a team that they haven't played in a while, and the last time they played them was 55-24 in Iowa City. Ohio State certainly will know its Big Ten East fate by then. That 10th game probably isn't going to matter. It's a non-divisional game. They'll have played Michigan, they'll have played Penn State, they'll played everybody in the division at that point. So, it's going to be a lot of fun here talking about things as all these schedules are starting to come together at this point, and we can just start mapping out what it is that we all hope to watch week to week, and just hope that the numbers of the disease, the virus that will remain unnamed at this point, stay down, and we can return to a little normalcy around here.